Okay, cool.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for another very special edition of WOWSA Live. And we're coming from Hong Kong, where Shu Pu and Mayank Vaid had an unbelievable event that they did, unprecedented, first time in human history. And welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah. And there's no way I could do it justice, what he did going around Hong Kong. And Shu, can you explain exactly what he did and how he did it?
Sure. Mayank on November 6th swam around Hong Kong Island, 45 kilometers, then biked 215 kilometers around Hong Kong Island, Kowloon, and New Territories, and then ran 100 kilometers around Hong Kong Island and also part of Kowloon. So altogether, 360 kilometers.
Now, he did this over the course of a week or something, right?
No, over 70 hours.
Wow.
Something, yeah.
Wow. Now, Mike, you are not a swimmer, correct?
I'm not a swimmer.
Yeah. So first of all, how in the world did you get 45 kilometers, a 45-kilometer swim in?
I mean, I asked Shu, I wanted to do this, and Shu said, yeah, I think you should absolutely try. Last year I did Arch to Arc, which is London to Paris, which includes swimming across the channel. But I swam across the channel. I'm typically a triathlete, so I swam it in a wetsuit.
Yeah.
So swimming a distance like 45 kilometers without a wetsuit was, and for me was, and continues to be an extremely challenging event.
Yeah.
So we just tried it, and Shu gave me the opportunity, and we painted a very rosy picture that it's possible. And we made sure that in our minds, we believed it's possible. And yeah, we just got it done.
Wow. But when you finished it, it was more incredible than you thought, correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think for me, it's an achievement of a lifetime to be able to swim that distance. This has only been swum by 3 or 4 amazing swimmers before. They all are very accomplished, and every time I look at them, they're like fish in the water, and I'm not. For me to be able to do this is a huge achievement for myself. But I also had a strong purpose behind it, which kept me going. We were raising funds for sports coaches who were affected by closure of sports venues because of COVID-19. A lot of sports coaches in Hong Kong coaches really earn their living based on day-to-day bookings of coaching events.
Okay.
So we were raising funds for them through local charities, and we had a huge purpose behind us that we had to push through everything. So I think a strong purpose with Shu trusting in me, when a race director trusts in you. We had a lot of areas where we were dealt with blows, starting from changing in dates, typhoons, health issues. But Shu just kept looking at me and saying, Mayank, you can do it. And she was there on the boat next to me for 18 hours. And she never once told me that, well, you're missing the tide or the current's against you. Every time she just told me it's possible. So yeah, it's just great.
Wow. So Shu, you were literally right there for 18 hours. And then he did the rest of the running and biking.
She was still there. She was still there for the rest. She was there with me for the whole 70 hours and plus.
Oh. Wow. So explain to me about the timing of this.
You mean timing?
Typically when you're doing a long swim, whether it's the English Channel or Hong Kong 360, you pick a date, but you might have a window. For this, the window, how did you handle that?
Well, I partner with a routing specialist. His name is Ross Vickers, and he lives in Germany. And we've been partnering for every single HK360 swim.
Okay.
So basically, we evaluate swimmers' average pace, and then we look at the tidal and the current pattern of Hong Kong, around Hong Kong Island.
Okay.
And we model it into the whole system. And then we figure out a best time to start the swim for two purposes. One, to get the swimmer around so that he or she encounter as little current against as possible, which is possible on certain times of the year.
Yeah.
And two, to get the swimmer through the harbor before all the ferry starts in the morning, which is essential to get marine approval, to get the support from the city to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did the swim go? 18 hours. You must have hit all kinds of people.
Yeah. Well, I think we had we were maybe a little bit overly optimistic about the pace.
Okay.
So we probably, to be honest, left slightly too early.
Okay.
Sorry, slightly too late. We should have had Mayank start a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So it could have been a slightly shorter swim, but 18 hours is pretty long for the second half. It was quite a torture.
Yeah.
And it was cold, very cold for Mayank, I think, because we started just after 1 a.m. in the morning. It was dark and yeah.
And how was that, Mayank?
It was, to start with, it was beautiful because I love swimming in the dark. I really enjoy, it's me, the black water, I mean, possibly, but I also had a kayak and a paddler next to me with blinkers, and I had a blinker on me. Okay. Swimming through the harbor is quite special because whether it's daylight or nighttime, you swim through the harbor and you see these beautiful buildings, the city, and it's just amazing. Also the bioluminescence, I wasn't expecting as much in the harbor, but there was a lot of bioluminescence. So every time my palms and my arms were smashing the water, I could just see green bubbles popping out. Wow. And it just kept me, completely amused for a few hours. But then the torture began, like Shu said, because I'm not typically a super buoyant body. The Hong Kong Observatory was suggesting the water temperature, water temperature, surface temperature to be around 25. But I think it was way lower. And then slowly, I wasn't sure what's hitting me. Is it the cold, or is it bad nutrition, or is it just, am I fighting a current? So I was starting to hurt by the time we were about 10 kilometers into the swim. But once the sun came out, it was great because I could see a sunrise. But I also knew, because it's a circumnavigation swim, it's not like the channel, because in channel you don't know where you are. It's a circumnavigation, so you sort of know where you are, which can work really mentally in your favor or against you. If you're on pace, it works wonders because you feel great, so superpowered. But if you're way behind schedule, it plays around differently. Yeah. And I knew I was way behind schedule. The sun was coming out way too early. So into the swim, and then it started to become tough. But then I had great support swimmers. I had a paddler who stood with me, who paddled with me all the way. And for me, the biggest mission was to finish it, and I was going to do that. So that was like one target.
Great. And what was your longest swim until you did the circumnavigation of Hong Kong?
It was way shorter. It was about 22 kilometers that I'd done, but those 22 kilometers were not with the same kind of tidal assistance. So those were often against current. So I wasn't really focusing on the distance in the swim, but I was focusing on the time in the water. So I was trying to spend up to 10 to 11 hours in the water during practice swims. I did about 4 such long sets, before the race, before the event day.
Yeah. Now, Shu, he was in the water for 18 hours, yet he still had another whole day of competing. How did you, what was his, how were you preparing him mentally and physically? How were you supporting him, his body and his mind, as he went transferred from the water onto his bike?
Um, well, to be there,
Yeah.
I guess, right next to him, um, to assure him that, keep assuring him that he is going to complete this, because I truly trusted he would.
Mhm.
And then to be there whenever he needed to have a stop and have some support.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Mayank, on the bike, you were escorted, I think, by some fellow cyclists, but did you also have a car, or how was the logistics of the long cycle?
We had great support from Mercedes-Benz Hong Kong. They came in as a corporate sponsor donor to the event. They identified themselves very strongly with the event because the event is a zero carbon footprint event. There were no ribbons, there are no markers, there are no, we basically leave nothing behind on the track. Shu's done an amazing job with that over the massive course. You don't really see anything, nothing ahead of you, nothing behind you. So Mercedes saw this strongly committed to their electric car, EQC. So they brought in the EQC as an electric partner to the Hong Kong 360 Extreme. So they were very kind and they supported the event with content production as well as two big vans that were constantly with us. So one was with the Observer, which is Shu and her team. And another one carried basically our equipment, spare wheels, nutrition. But I think mostly both of these vans had nutrition and water on them. Shu did an amazing job of putting a tracker on me. So she could never lose me. If I took a wrong turn, she would text me or call me, or she would turn around and come back and find me, because there were a couple of locations where we were going off track.
Okay.
So logistics worked quite amazing. The drivers of the Mercedes cars did an amazing job because the goalposts were constantly moving. You know, the swim was predicted to take anything between 12 to 14 hours, but then we spent 18 hours, and then we took another 1 hour to do the transition onto the bike. So we were already about 7 hours behind schedule, but the drivers were just there smiling at us and saying, no problem. Then they stuck with us all night. Then there was again a change in plan. So I think Shu was constantly with the Mercedes team because she was part of the whole the caravan. I think she was managing the relationship quite well with the sponsor to make sure that we have constant support through the next 50 hours or so.
Yeah. Now, all marathon swimmers, all channel swimmers know an 18-hour swim is tough. And then they go to the hotel or their home and they take a nice bath or shower and they relax and they eat. You're hopping on a bicycle. I mean,
Yeah.
how is that transformation from the water to the bike? I mean, something had to be hurting, right?
Yeah, my head was hurting. I was super wobbly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I mean the whole motion thing, right? So when I came out of the water, I was very, very cold, and it took me about 60 minutes to just warm up, and then getting on the bike was hard because the transition, the swim start and swim finish is a swim shed, and we finished almost close to night, so there wasn't any possibility to take a hot shower or really gather ourselves. So we finished, we got up, which is also a whole part of the challenge. It's got to be challenging, got to be tough. So we got up to the top of where the swimming shed parking is, and then we did the transition over there. I had friends and family right there, and everybody was super supportive. Somebody was feeding me water, somebody was getting a sock on me, somebody was drying me up. I had a I had a small wound on my left foot. Somebody was trying to fix that. So we were like all hands on deck situation. And it was quite amazing from going from extremely suffering state when I came out of the water to going to 60 minutes telling my bike buddies that, all right, let's hit the road. It was quite amazing how quickly the transition happened. But once I was on the bike, it took me very, very long to get back into it, because where we started, there are lots of traffic lights. It's a bit like downtown California. I mean, you go in and every 300 meters there's a traffic light. So we had to stop, get off the bikes. My foot was really hurting, and then getting back on the bike was hard because I was super wobbly from the big swim. It took me about 2 hours, but I think it works in favor of in such a situation. Getting back on and doing something after a long swim is possibly the best way to get your blood running and getting your body into the right state. In about 2 hours, I was fine. It was the swim was way behind me, and I knew I had to just keep biking.
Wow. And then how was the bike run transition? How was that?
So in between the bike, I had to take a long break. The next morning, by the time we got into the new territories, about 105 kilometers in the bike ride, I started to feel really, really sick. My stomach was running. I wasn't able to retain anything. And we stopped at one point where we took a very long break, and everyone, my bike friends, Shu, everyone encouraged me I should go into the car and take a nap, and I was not able to nap. My shoulder was very sore from the swim, and I wanted to take a nap. It wasn't working. And then I realized I think I was running fever. So we took a long break, about 15 hours break, came back home, tried to recover. And then, yes, I was running very high, 39 degrees. Now, then the focus was just to fix myself and get back on the bike. And then that's where Shu was risking DNF from my side, her very first event, where she's setting up a massive course, 360 Xtreme, setting up Hong Kong for one of the most enduring events. And then the first attempt is a DNF, it doesn't go well. So I had this responsibility on my shoulders, and Shu wasn't putting any pressure on me and was just smiling and saying, Mayank, take it easy. It's your right to go and rest. So I went back home, took a rest. But I told my bike buddies, we got to continue the bike, and they all came out again at night. And after that, there was no looking back. The second bike section was very smooth, very good. We were very strong on the bike. And then the bike run transition was about 24 minutes. I had my run buddies waiting for me at the run start. It's a hilly run. And then we knew we were in the last third of the event, and I could see smiles all around that we're going to get this done.
Got it. And how long was your run portion? How many hours did that take you?
It was 100 kilometers. We were anticipating it'll take us anything between 12 to 14 hours, but it took me 19 hours. Just my stomach was not cooperating since the bike ride. So on the bike, a non-cooperative stomach can manage itself, but on the run, a non-cooperative stomach, GI issues, no way. So that was tough.
Yeah. Well, how was your muscle, like your calves, or your thighs, your hamstrings? Were they locking up, or you were fine otherwise, other than the GI issues?
I was fine. I was doing fine, except just the stomach not holding up. But there wasn't any cramping or any other issues with the muscles.
Okay, great. And Shu, I mean, I can see this being a new Ironman triathlon. Are you prepared for people to try to replicate the pioneer?
Well, I guess I am. And I also kind of not believing any other people would want to do this, because it's really, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you were positive the whole way. You yourself had to, be tough in there. Correct?
Yeah, well, yeah. I am a pretty positive usually, and meeting Mayank and actually kind of witnessed him how he trains and how he deals with the whole challenge. It gives me a lot of confidence that he's able to do this. So he might be looking that he's suffering, or he might be having quitting thoughts, but it's a whole part of the part of the whole process. In my view. So yeah, I really had a lot of confidence in him. It's like we can get through this together. And he has great supports from his sports friends, and they were really there with him, kind of shielding him from traffic and just kind of be there. So yeah, I had no doubt.
Wow. Wow. So what did you have, you've done this. Was there something, this is a question of Mayank. You did this. Is there some thing you learned about yourself or about what is possible now that you've done it? You went through all these pains and injuries and suffering.
Yeah, that's a great question, Stephen. Yeah, I've learned a couple of things about myself. Is one is I can swim for 18 hours
Yeah.
in 22, 23 degree temperature, which for me is cold.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that, and I can still carry on after that, which is a huge learning experience for me. I can go close to 70 hours without sleep, which is also a great learning experience for me. I can use this to build my character further into other endurance sports which need long event participation without sleep. I know that if I can keep reminding myself of the purpose why I'm doing this, what lies at the end of the success, I can get it done. And this not only applies to me, but to most of us, that we have to keep reminding ourselves why we are doing what we are doing, whether even if it's a 30-minute run or a swim, or a longer event. To be honest with you, 7 years, I can actually say 7 years ago, 2013 was when I actually started training for triathlons. I couldn't swim. I used to go to the swimming pool and people used to look at me and ask me, what am I doing? And when I would swim freestyle, they would wonder what's going on. So I would pop my head out, and I would prefer a 25-meter pool because that was doable. The 50-meter was too far. And I think with training, with having a good coach, putting myself in great company of friends, surrounding myself with good people, I think I've been able to achieve something which really is a huge, huge achievement for me and for many other swimmers and athletes who have sort of similar background like me. And I told this to Shu way before we set off on November 6th is, Shu, it's amazing you're giving me this opportunity because I couldn't swim and now I'm able to do this. So what I've learned is I think there's a lot more that can be achieved and done. We just have to put our head and mind and our heart into it.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. That's beautiful. And Shu, I mean, you're
Yeah.
doing so much for the sport in the city of Hong Kong. Please explain to people like what opportunities are there for a swim around Hong Kong? How do they contact you? What should they be prepared for?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's a circumnavigation of Hong Kong Island. It's about 45 kilometers. We're quite lucky here in Hong Kong, and the temperatures are not like the English channels. So we have temperature in the winter. Probably the lowest we'll get here is 16 degrees in the coldest times. And then, yeah, as high as 28 degrees in the summer. So we could do this all year round without a wetsuit. Okay. And there are not that many cosmopolitan, city islands in the world. And Hong Kong is one of them. And it's my vision to build this circumnavigation swim as one of those iconic swims like the English Channel or the around Manhattan swim. So, and it's beautiful, seriously beautiful swim. So yeah, you can check our website, HK360Swim.com. You'll find my email and phone number there to send me an email, and we can talk about dates and everything.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations to both of you. I mean, what you did is mind-boggling, and it was great to hear what you had to go through. It definitely wasn't easy, but my congratulations to both of you, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about from both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.